So we have a new topic, something called procedures. And repeat. We have a new topic, procedures. So it is also called as stored procedures. And repeat. We have a topic, procedures, and it is also called as stored procedures. Stored procedures. We'll see what is stored procedures. Stored procedures or procedures is a PL-Sql block which performs one or more specific or particular task. I repeat, stored procedures or procedures is a Pl-Sql block which performs one or more specific task. See, it is like a syntax. Procedure, it is like a syntax where we can give any number of statements or any number of tasks, and it will perform all those tasks within a short span of time. I'll repeat. Stored procedures or procedures is a Pl-Sql block which performs one or more specific or more particular task, and it has a header and a body. I repeat, the procedure contains a header and a body. We'll see what is header. So the header contains the name of the procedure and the parameters or variable passed. See, header is nothing but, see, this part is called as header. The declare section and begin section. These two sections is called as header. So where it contains, as usual, we know we are familiar with this one, which contains the procedure name, which means what has to be done, parameters, variable declaration, variable initialization, all those can be done in header, which means this is header. In between declare and begin, whatever we write, the variable name, data type, variable declaration, initialization, all those things can be done between the header. Then a body. And this one says the body contains a declaration section, execution section, exception section, similar to a general Pl-Sql block. So body. Begin and end. So this is header and this is the body. So the body contains a declaration section, execution section, exception section, similar to a general Pl-Sql block. We'll see one example. See, what we used to do. Previously, we had a syntax, declare, begin, and end. So here we should give a variable name, Nayak, data type number, some size, and then number, some size, and then directly we used to specify some number. We used to initialize some number. But here in procedure, we will give the variable name, but we will not initialize the values directly. We will not initialize the values directly. We have to initialize the values indirectly. I'll explain this one again. So we cannot pass the values directly, but we have to pass the values indirectly. Let us see how to do that. So to pass the parameter, how to pass the parameters, which means how to initialize the variables, how to initialize the values using the procedure. So, however, we want to create a procedure or variable or function, so we have to define the parameters or variable, which means, see, before I initialize any number, I want to initialize any number like some number. So before I initialize this number, I have to give a name and data type with its specified size. So that's what this is. That's what it says. Whenever we want to create a procedure or a variable or a function, see, all are same. Procedure, functions, variables, all are the same. We have to define the parameters. We have to define the parameters or variables And there are three types of parameters to pass. I repeat, there are three ways to pass the parameter. See, here in procedure, we cannot initialize the values directly. I repeat, previously what we used to do, declare any name like Nayak, Rohit, Ganga, so on so, data type, size, and then value for that particular variable name. But here, same thing, but we cannot pass the variables directly. We cannot initialize the values directly, but we have to initialize the values indirectly. We have to initialize the values indirectly, and that can be done in three ways. Parameter passing or variable passing can be done in three ways using in parameters. I repeat, if I want to initialize any values, that can be done using in parameters or out parameters or both in and out parameter. I repeat, there are three ways to pass the parameter or variables in the procedure. The first way is using in parameters, out parameters, in, out parameters. We'll see what is in, out, and in, out. So, in parameter, this one says it is a read-only parameter. It is a read-only. So, read-only is a word. Once I declare any value, for example, I'll be initialize the number like for example variable name v, and I'll initialize some value for that one as 25. The value for that one is 25. So read only is the word. Once we declare, it is fixed. We cannot change that. I'll repeat. It is a read only parameter. Read only, which means already declared, and we cannot do nothing. We cannot change. We cannot modify nothing. We just can declare. And once it is declared, we just have to read it. That's it. We cannot change it again. So in parameter is used. Sorry, in parameter is a read-only parameter. Only read-only parameter, which means an in parameter acts like a constant. Which means the value of the parameter cannot be overwritten, modified, changed. It cannot be modified. It cannot be changed. It cannot be overwritten, which means once I declare any value to any parameter, we cannot change it again. Throughout the program, we cannot change. So I'll repeat. It is a read-only parameter, and in parameter acts like a constant, which means the value of the parameter cannot be overwritten, cannot be modified, cannot be changed by the procedure or the function. You can pass a constant, literal, initialize variables, or expression as an in parameter. See, these things are very hectic. I just can tell one simple. I can tell you simply that in parameter is used to initialize the variables. I'll repeat. If I want to initialize any variables into any declaration name, we have to use in. I'll repeat. To pass any variable, to initialize any variable value, we have to use in. That's it. And then it is a default mode of parameter passing. Parameters passed by a reference. I'll repeat. Parameters are passed by a reference. See, don't bother about this theory. Just read it once. If you understand, that's okay. If you don't understand, skip that. I'll explain with this one with the practical. You will understand that very well. So it is a parameter passed by a reference. So in parameter is used to initialize the values. If you want to initialize any values, we have to use in parameter. And we cannot use it directly. And the parameters should be passed by a reference. I'll explain this line a little later. There's something called out parameter. And out parameter returns a value to the calling program. I'll repeat. And out parameter returns a value to the calling program. Inside the subprogram, an out parameter acts like a variable. You can change its value and its reference of the value after assigning it. The actual parameter must be declared. See, leave this. Leave all these things. If I want to tell you simply, in a simple way, in parameter is used to pass the variable, which means initialize the variables. and out parameter used to get the output. For example, I will initialize some value. Value of A is using in parameter 25. I'll go with this one now. Say I want to initialize a variable x in number. 1 second. See, there is a variable name A, and I want to initialize this variable with a number 25. So I will use in parameter to pass this one. And then again, I'm having B, and here also I use in parameter, and the value for that one is 30. And of course, I'll go with C. And C, I will not initialize any value here. For C, I'll not initialize any value. I will use out parameter. I will use out parameter to get the output, saying that the maximum of A and B, the maximum of A and B should be the value of C. Whichever the maximum we have from those A and B, that should be the value of C. So here I have used in parameter to initialize the value into the variable name A. And again, in parameter to initialize the value that is 30 into the variable name B. And here I have given the value C, but there is no initialization here. There is no initialization here because I'm using out parameter. So out parameter is used to get the output from the variable whatever we have initialized. In is used to initialize the values, and out parameter is used to get the output from these two. Get some value, either the maximum one or the minimum one. Any value from these two. To get the output from these two, we will use out parameter. We'll see one more example. So in out, same. It is used to initialize. It is used to get the output. So together we will do both. Together we will do both. Initialization also done. Getting output also done. Both are same. Let me give one example here. So there is a program. This program finds the minimum of two values. And here the procedure takes two numbers using in mode. I'll repeat from the first. This program finds the minimum of two values. And here the procedure takes two numbers using in mode. The procedure takes two numbers at the word. The procedure will be initialized with two numbers using in parameter. There will be two different variable name, and those two different variable name will be passed or will be initialized with some other value using in parameter, and returns their minimum using the out parameter. Returns their minimum using out parameter. Once again, this program finds the minimum of two values, and here the procedure takes two numbers using in mode, using in parameter or in mode, and returns their minimum using the out parameter. If I want to give one more example, see, declare, begin, get. So I'm having two blocks here. Declare, begin, get, and again begin and get. Multiple blocks. This one, what we call it, nested blocks. A block inside another block. So here I'll go with variable name A, variable name B, and C. Variable name A, B, and C. Number data type. And here we have not initialized any value. We have not initialized any value. And we have read that what in the body, we have to give the procedure name, parameters, and then variables, all those things. One second, I'll show you this. So the header contains the name of the procedure and the parameters. Parameters are nothing but in, out, in, out. So even these parameters are specified there. So the header contains the name of the procedure and the parameters or variables passed to the procedure. So here I have an example. Variable name A, B, C, number data type, procedure and procedure name. Find the minimum. Find the minimum. And here we have it one thing that parameters are passed by reference. Parameters are passed by reference. So here I'm having A. I will take the reference of A as X, B as Y, C as Z. I'll repeat. Variable name A is referred with X. Variable name B referred as referred as Y. Variable name C referred as Z. So we know that I want to find also we are giving the procedure where I want to find the minimum. So what I'll do, I want to initialize some value to A and initialize some value to B. And how I'll do that? Using the reference. So X in number, which means whatever the variable name A has, that should be referred as X. And we are using in here, which means we have to give some number. We have to initialize some number, and that number will be initialized into the variable name A. Again, Y in number. So Y is nothing but B. B is initialized with some number. Then C. I have given the C also, but it is not initialized because I'm using out here. If I use in, which means we are initializing some number or initializing some value. If I use out, we are expecting some output from whatever the values we have initialized. From those values, we are getting some output. We are expecting some output. So I'll repeat. Procedure name, find the minimum, and a reference is passed. The parameters are passed by reference, which means if I want to initialize some value into this variable name A, I repeat, if I want to initialize any value to the variable name A, that has to be passed, that has to be initialized with a reference. So X in number, which means it is initialized. We are using in just to initialize the variable X or A. And again, here also we are using in just to initialize the variable into B or Y. And here we are using out parameter just to get the output from these two. The minimum, we have given the procedure name, find the minimum. Find the minimum of X or Y. Whichever the minimum of X and Y we have, that should be given as an output of Z, which means C. I'll repeat. X is initialized with some number. Y will also be initialized with some number. From these X and Y, whichever the minimum we have, that one should be the value for C. That should be given as an output for C. So we'll see one example here now. So if X is less than Y, because we said find the minimum should be given as an output. So if X is less than Y, then the value of Z should be X. Else, the value of Z should be Y. I'll repeat again. If X is less than Y, then the value of Z should be X, because this is A, B, and C. So if the value of X is less than Y, then the value of Z should be X. Else, the value of Z should be Y. Whichever the minimum from these two, either X or Y, whichever the minimum value it has, that should be given as an output for Z. And then we have opened if and closed if. So the value of A is 23 and the value of B is 45. And now find the minimum A, B. So I'll repeat, find the minimum of A and B. Here we have given X is nothing but A, Y is nothing but B, Z is nothing but C. So from these X and Y, whichever the minimum value it has, that should be given as a value for C. So DBMS output, the minimum of 23 and 45 will be the value of C. I'll repeat, the minimum of 23 and 45 should be the value for C. So minimum of 23 and 45 is 23. So the value of C is 23. So the same output we have. Minimum of 23 and 45 is C. whichever the minimum we get from these two, that will be the value for C. And I have one more example, same variable name R, H, and L. So number data type, and again procedure and procedure name. Find the maximum. Find the maximum. So X in number. So if we use in, which means some variable is initialized into X, and some variable is initialized into Y. And if I use out, from whatever the variable we have initialized, from those two, we are expecting one output. So I repeat again. Procedure, find the maximum, X in number, Y in number, Z out number, Z out number. So maximum, find the maximum. If X is greater than Y, if X is greater than Y, then the value of Z should be X, because we want the maximum. If X is maximum than Y, then the value of Z should be X. Else, the value of Z should be Y. So the value of R, see, R is a reference of X, H is the reference of Y, and Z is the reference of L. So value of R is 28, value of H is 46. Find the maximum of X and Y. From these two, give me the maximum value for L. That is Z. Give me the output for maximum of 28 and 45, and that should be in the value of L. The maximum of 28 and 46 is 46. So the value of L is 46. And if I change this to 88, if I change that to 88, so the maximum of 88 and 46 is the maximum of 46 and 88 is 88. So the value of L will be 88. See, we don't bother about this procedure. We don't use this anyway, but this is just for the purpose of these two parameters. This in, out, and in, out. We don't use procedure anyway. We don't use this one because procedures is a basic version, variables are advanced version, and then functions. It is more advanced. So we don't use procedure or variable, we will use functions. So here also in function, we will get the same thing again, in, out, in, out. So for this, that's the reason why I'm giving some basic introduction or explanation based on these parameters. And we don't use functions anyway. We don't use the function, but still we should know the working process, how these variables are passed with a reference, and what are the reference, X in number, Y in number, what is that in? In is used to pass the parameters, out is used to get the parameters, which means get the parameters as an output. So you should know all these things, but that's the reason why I have given this explanation. And we will use functions, not procedures. We don't use procedures anyway, but we will definitely use functions. So see, the motive of this procedure is just to analyze how to pass the parameters, how to pass the parameters using in, and how to get the parameters using out. So in is used to initialize the variable. Yes. Sai. Sai, I cannot hear you. So this is procedure, initializing the variables using in parameter and getting the output using out parameter. Is it clear so far? Just work on these things. Don't go with this example, the theory. Try to read it once, and if you understand, that's okay. If not, understand what is in, out. So in is used to pass the parameters, and out is used to get the output from the parameters which we have passed. Is it clear?
Yeah, yes, sir, clear.
Fine, I'll stop it for today because